Hi, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop, and the parts I've been waiting for, they sent me the wrong one, has come in. So what we want to do is get these bearings pressed into the covers right now. And I got the new ones and we're gonna push the old ones out. Get this thing set up here. And we'll start with the ball bearings first. Now again, you want to support these covers when you're pressing something in or out of it so you don't distort it. So I just used a piece of pipe, but I machined it on both sides so they're parallel and square with the piece of pipe. Now these bearings have a snap ring in them so that they'll only press in so deep into the cover. That way you don't have to worry about pressing them all the way through like you can with the needle bearings. This bearing was just about destroyed. I don't know if you can see the seal is gone on it, and it won't even turn. Don't you just love that? Apparently the relief valve in there is a little small for the amount of fluid that's trying to go through it, and it likes to make noise. So we're going to open up these packages here. Get out one of these. Oh, this one turns. Get out one of our bearings. Now we have to press this in from the inside, pushing it outward. And again, you're going to want to support this. And as you can see, the ring is, well, I don't know if you can see that or not. It's pressed up against the cover and it's in all the way. Now we'll put the next one in. Then we'll switch over for the needle bearings. Now when you support this, you don't have a lot of room right here on this rim, so you want to make sure it's touching all the way around on this base. I get it down close and then I push it over so I make sure it's touching. That's them two. Now we'll take this part out. and put in the one for the needle bearings. That's the one that has the built-in stop. Hopefully it will get it in the correct position. Let's see what these are set at. I put this all the way in the bearing so I can check the location that they have it pressed in at. Put my piece of pipe on there, and I'm touching the rim of the pipe and the end of that bolt at the same time. So it should install the new ones right where the old ones are. Whether that's correct or not, I'll know when I get it assembled. We backed this off a little bit too far. That ain't gonna work. We want to use that stop when we're pushing the new one in, not the old one out. That stop has to miss the plates that this thing is sitting on. Well, that thing is really in there tight. Wow. There we go. Now, I'll show you what the problem was. My pipe that's supposed to be centered on the hole was off center. And when the pusher came down to shove the old bearing out, it was hitting the edge of this pipe and it wouldn't go anywhere. That was the issue with that one. Now we'll shove this one out. And we'll try to get that lined up this time. I still got something out of alignment here. There we go. That's the two old ones. Now, drop my pipe. We'll put the new ones in. Hopefully we won't have as much trouble with these as we did the last ones. Now it doesn't matter on these which way you press them in. I should have pressed them out from the inside out. That way my piece of pipe would have stayed centered the way I wanted it. Oh, live and learn. Now we'll get this down close. I don't know if you can see all that well or not. We'll get down close to the bearing. We will put the bearing up on the pusher and hold it there. That way that will ensure that this is going in squarely. I'm going to have to push it this way for right now because that's the way that thing is lined up for my distance. To get that thing in the right position. Just having a we bottomed out on that one. And we'll get this next one out. See how much trouble this one will give me. There. Now, let's go over here and see if that new part's even going to fit. Hang on. Okay, back over here. Now, if you can see the bolt pattern, maybe this would look better. Holes are a little bigger. The bolt pattern on this is uniform. You have a 1/4-20 bolt here, and the small bolts that screw these two halves together, there's 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 1 up here. Now the gaskets are not like that. They added a bolt in between each one of these over the years because apparently when this is on the machine and this side is down, it sits this way in the way this machine is sitting here. When this side is down, apparently it started leaking down here because they couldn't squeeze them tight enough together to keep it from leaking with the paper gaskets. So I don't know if they went to the cork gaskets first or if they just drilled more holes in here. But our newer machines, they have both. They have the better cork gasket and have the extra holes in the chain case and the bottom of the differential. They'll have extra bolts in here. And the owner wanted me to use a particular Permatex gasket sealer. I've already installed it on here because I wanted to see what it was like to use before I tried something new like this on camera. But this is Forma Gasket liquid sealant, or they have it sealant liquid on it backwards, but it's aviation brand. It goes on very thin. I won't say it's like water, but it is thin compared to the tube stuff you buy that comes out like really thick toothpaste. This is really nice to apply because you don't end up with a bunch of squeeze out. You do end up with some, but nothing like the thicker Forma Gasket from Permatex. You can get this online from Amazon for around $7 for a 4-ounce bottle. I kind of like it. I may be switching over to this. We'll see what the shelf life is like. The paste stuff that I've been buying, I typically buy the smallest tube I can find because the next time I go to use it, it's hardened up and it's no good. We'll see how the shelf life on this is, and I'll let you know. Now, on assembling this thing has been tore apart before. I don't know if the chain case has been, but I know the differential was because there's parts missing. This is the old style sprocket and hub, I believe is what they call it. Sprocket and hub, and it's held together with a couple snap rings. Completely different than the new style that they just weld together. And you can't have this rough weld up against the shoulder of that bearing, so they added these little nylon spacers, and you can see, maybe you can tell, it's hollowed out on the inside to go around that weld. Then, grab one of these old bearings. The rim of that bearing rubs up against the face of this piece of nylon. That acts as a thrust washer. The old ones don't. Just the square, it looks like it may have even ground that shoulder, just rubs up against the steel edge of the bearing. So when I assemble this, I'll make sure I have a little bit of play in there so I don't get a lot of friction. That's the new style. Now, let's see what they did, if they got the right one this time. This is from Parts Tree. The first one they sent me was the wrong one. I'm still going to get a hold of them on that. I did send it back, and they said they'd give me a refund. They did send me a shipper to ship it back to them, but the lady I talked to on the phone made me pay shipping to get this one, which I don't feel was right. So I'm going to call and get a hold of Eric. He's the one I typically deal with, and I'll just let him know I'm not real happy about that. So let's cut this bad boy open and see what this looks like. I don't have the one they sent me because I had to send it back. Now here's some old sprockets and shafts. Let's see how this one compares to an old one I took out of a machine. That looks pretty good. And this is a different style. It's got a threaded hole in the end and two flats. That's for your auxiliary brake. They did away with them. Back here on the Comets, they never had them. They're just square on the end. And there's another issue. Here's the original one out of the Comet. And here's all you can get to replace it with. Line them gears up. What's the difference there? Well, I'm hoping that the extra thread sticking out is not going to give me a problem. If it does, I'll have to cut it off. At least everything else lines up. The keyway lines up for the Woodruff key, except this is the new one they sent me to replace it with. Here's the shoulders. Now these rub up against the inner race of the bearings. And I have, on the old one, 865 thousandths. No, I'm sorry. That's the new one. Here's the old one. Look at the difference we have in that. This shoulder is $750. It's over 100 thousandths longer than the old one. So all we can do is assemble this and see if I'm going to go to a cork gasket. That will help a little. But if it pinches too tight between the two bearings, because they're not going to move, they got that clip on there. I'm going to have to take this down to the shop and machine it. Hopefully, it's not too hard. It says, made in the USA. And they also called this back then a drive shaft. I don't know. Oh, these two little pieces laying here in my way. These are the edges, or the inside edges off of the differential cover. For some reason they make them, well, they make them this much too wide. This hangs over on the inside of the cover. And once this old material gets brittle and it starts to curl, your chain and gear is going to grab a hold of that and turn it into a bunch of paste. And I cut them off. I don't leave them on there because I don't want the issues down the road when that starts grinding up and getting caught in the gears. So we're going to stick this in here. And the new one, maybe we won't. It doesn't fit. Always something, isn't it? Okay, the bearings are 625. This shoulder is 624. Now 622 here. 623, 623, 623 and a half. Well, apparently it's not very round. Let's come over here and see what the issue is. This is 621, so the bearing will fit up here. Down here towards the threads, it's 622. That'll fit. Let's go up on the thread, shall we? 628. There's no way that's going to fit through the bearing. I could press it in, but it may hurt the bearing. This is out here on the end. It's 624. 624 and a half. 624. let's turn it 90, 624.5, 625. I don't know how many machinists we have out there, but a 625 shaft is not going to go through a 625 bearing. So we're going to have to, yeah, that won't go in there. I guess we're going to have to run down the shop after all. Grab all these old bearings. No. Road trip. Not much I can do. I want to get this thing together and shipped back. But I'm going to have to go down and do something with that. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a ridge sticking up right there. If I try to slide my scale down there, it hits right on that ridge sticking up. Looks like when their threader popped open, they popped it open a little bit too soon and left a ridge sticking up on that. Well, we got 629. There's no way. I'm just debating if I want to film what I got to do at work. They do have a hole in the center. It does not look like a center drill or a centering hole to me. Well, maybe it is. I'll find out once I get it in the lathe. Okay, what do we do? I'll try filming it at work. If the segment's too long, I'll just erase it. So, see you in a few. Okay, we're down at the shop, and this is a Rockwell machine. This is going to tell me how hard this part is. I don't know if it's better with the lights off or the lights on. I'm going to put this part in here. Run this needle around till it's on zeros, and we pull this handle. Let's move you over here a little bit. When that handle and this gauge stops moving, that'll tell us the Rockwell. We're about 14. That's good because 14 is soft. If it was around 65 or 70, then we'd have some problems. Let me walk you back through the shop. Yeah, we can shut that light off. I don't have any competition on my lathe anymore because there's the new lathe they bought. It's a Haas. And I don't have any competition on the mills anymore because there's the new milling machine they bought. So when I have to come down here and do something, there's nobody on my mills. Here's a CNC mill. And there's nobody on my lathe. Get this set up so you can try to see something. And we're going to stick this in here. See if we can fix this thing. need this. We need the center. Oh, let's check something first. Let's see how round this thing actually is. At home I was using a standard mic. This is a tri-mic. This will tell me if this thing is round or egg-shaped or triangular shaped. Well, we got 623, and you just turn it a little. 623, 623. Not bad, it's actually round. It's just oversized. Let's check where the bearing fits on this side. 621. The bearing mounted surfaces could be a little bit closer to 625. 621 is a little small for a 625 bearing. We do want a slip fit, but we don't want that much room. I have a flag get kicked up. Somebody apparently turned the chuck when the door was shut, and it sent up an error, and I got to just shut the machine off, turn it back on. And we have to turn that on really slow so the computer can realize where the chuck is. Where's it gonna go? It just spins in a circle. Yeah, I don't know. There we go. Now we're moving. Punch some numbers in here. Now we're gonna try to knock this off with a file, seeing it's soft. See if that fits. Shouldn't take much to get that to go in there. Still don't want to fit. Get closer though. Now if I had a lot to take off, I would have to use a tool and turn it off. Seeing I only got a couple thousandths, I don't want to have to try and reline up on everything to get this to fit. Well, it's starting to go in. Maybe I need a better file. this is just a trial and error process. Could turn it a little bit, couldn't I? Not yet. Can't see a thing, can you? I guess maybe I should go to get a brand new file. This one ain't cutting much either. I don't know why it's not coming off easier than this. It's not that hard. And I'm filing on the threads. I should reframe that. I'm not filing on the threads. I'm filing on the high points that shouldn't be there in the first place. I don't know if I got a bad reading on that Rockwell machine because it wasn't sitting in there level. I had to cock it a little. But this should not file off this hard. Okay. I'm going to go get my mic. According to my mic here, my high spot is on the very end. As you get in, it gets smaller. So it's just the very end we got to work on. Try it again. Still a little big. Well, it went in partially. Where we're stuck now. I'm thinking it's right there on that. Yep, right on that big burr they got rolled up. That's going to be hard to get off of there with a file. I'm going to try this belt sander I got over here. Try it again. That did it. In there. Now, we got to go over to the bench and find out if this shoulder is too wide, and I have to machine that down. Boss will kill me if he shows up today. I left the key in the truck. Sorry, Tim. He just hates it. Sometimes I do it on purpose if I see him coming. So let's take a walk over to my area. Whoops. Our new air compressor. We used to have a 25 horse piston, and that thing running all day would rattle your brains. Thank God it burned up because we were using so much air, it rang all the time, and we went to a screw machine. And they are very quiet. This is where I spend most of my life. So, let's see how this thing fits. I did get a black block from home, and I turned around and went back to get the other half of this case and the gasket. And figures my gasket fell out of place. It won't go back in place. There we go. Gasket is not cooperating. It's stuck under here. Now, let's see if we can get this on without falling out of place. Need some of that Permatex, I guess. Well, I don't know if you can hear that or not, or see it. But I have about a 64th of clearance. I don't know how much clearance I would have. Let's see if I can find a couple small clamps. Yeah, I found a couple of small clamps. I have this bolted or clamped together to simulate the bolts that's going to be in there. And I don't have any binding. I have a little bit of slop back and forth, not much. I think we're going to be good like that. So, now we'll go back home, assemble this thing with all the parts in it, a dry fit, and make sure that's not going to bind. And then we'll put the Permatex on and seal this thing up. So, Another 20-minute drive, and I'll be back home. Hang on. Okay, we're back in my shop. Let's dry fit this thing and see what happens, shall we? I'll let go. A little oily. Now let's see. Make sure we get this threaded part sticking out in the right direction. I'll take that off so I don't pinch it. Well, that I don't like. Let's put this on and see what it does. Not any better. We seem to have other issues now. Well, it's one problem right after another with this thing. The chain is stuck in the sprocket. And it's really stuck. Wow. Well, it's got the same number of teeth. But it sure doesn't like it's not machined right. I don't know if I can put this in backwards and see what it's doing. Let's try the original sprocket. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but you can, let me get you straight on it. You can see the chain is going on and coming off the sprocket without any issues. We put the new one in here. And you can see it don't even fit. I'll pull down on it and try turning it. You can see it riding up on the sprocket. Well, I guess I'm not going to get this thing put together today. This sprocket is in good shape. Let's put this one in and see what it does. That's the wrong cover. I want it sticking out this way. This is a used sprocket, but it seems to be fine. And this is the original chain. He didn't want to change that. See, that works fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And this will have O-rings on it, so that'll keep it from leaking. Let's see what the fit looks like. We're down to 16. That one's up to 20. The new one, not really any smaller or worse than the new one is. Let's see what it is from gullet to gullet on this. 1 inch 10 thousandths. 1 inch 25 thousandths. It's big. If you look at the teeth, they look bigger too. Wider. They don't go to as much of a point. Well, if I put that in there, it's just going to lock right up. It ain't gonna. It's not going to do anything. No, you can see it. It's trying to climb right over here. I'm turning it this way. It's trying to climb up on top of the roller instead of going in between them. Well, Parts Tree is not open today. I will make a phone call. Let's see, I got his number here. I'll make a phone call to Paul and see what he wants to do. I can try ordering another one of these and see if it's any better than this piece of junk. It said on the package right there, drive shaft made in the USA. I'm wondering if that bag is made in the USA and the parts made in China, because I've seen that before. Otherwise, if it's made in this country, maybe they have some Chinese employees that don't give a squat about what they do. So I wasted a lot of my day on this mess. So I'll have to give Paul a call and see what he wants to do with this. And I guess this is the end of this video. So until next time, work safe, have fun, and we'll talk to you soon. So long.